It's hard to live a life that when you're walking with God, having to battle with the idea that you're not perfect. Or just like in any aspect of your life in general, you have to battle with the fact that you are not perfect. Whether you're in school, whether it's with the sports that you're doing, or the relationship that you're in, you realize that you're not perfect. You see that no matter how much you practice, no matter how much you perform, no matter how often you study, there's going to be times where you're going to get something wrong. There's going to be times where something's going to happen that you didn't foresee. Therefore, you ended up messing up. Therefore, you ended up no longer being perfect. But you were never perfect to begin with. And it's something that I struggle with a lot, because I'm in college and I have a relationship and I'm trying to build my relationship back with God. And I have done sports before for like a really long time, but that was a while back ago. And it's really hard to outperform how you've been when you still have the mindset of that you're not perfect. And I think what people get mixed up a lot of times, especially when it comes to Christianity, is that mindset of perfect. Because the truth of the matter is that, yes, Jesus was the only perfect being to walk on this planet. That is the reality of the Bible. That's the whole reason why it is a good news in the New Testament for Jesus to come. So he could live on this world a perfect man and then die bearing all of our sins. But that doesn't make us any less valuable as a human being. That doesn't make us have to no longer try and do better, because just because you're never meant to be perfect doesn't mean you can't still do good. You can still outperform without being at the highest possible peak you can be. You can still outperform in sports. You can still outperform in your grades. You can still do great in your relationship, and you can still do good as a believer. Because that's why this whole video is being made, is because I have been struggling as a believer in my walk with God, because it's hard not being perfect. You start to look at the habits that you have throughout the day, and you're like, why do I keep messing up? Why do I keep falling? It's because we're not perfect. And it's something that you have to wrestle with. You have to wrestle with the idea of you not being perfect. And the reason why I say that is because you're going to wonder why you keep sinning. You're going to wonder why, no matter how often you pray, how often you read your word, how often you worship God through music, that you still fall into sin. That you still somehow fall short. Even though you hear all the time people saying, you need to read your word, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to just go the full 9 yards, and you'll be fine. And there'll be no issues, no problems whatsoever. But it's not like that. People like to make it out like it's like that, but it's not. The fact of the matter is that you're never going to live up. But you can still outperform. You can still outperform every single day. Because doing better takes you more Doing better gives you extra steps to get ahead. Because there's so many people who try to aim for perfection because they want to get to that. They want to become perfect. But here's the thing, you need to have there's a mindset, and I'm trying to find out that mindset right now in my walk with God, but there is a mindset of don't look at your life as something that is going to be perfect. Don't look at your life as something that you are going to eventually become perfect. Because yes, even though if you are a believer and you die and you go to heaven, you are then made spiritually perfect. That's not what I'm talking about. Don't try to live up to perfection, but try to outperform in whatever it is you're doing. Have the mindset of outperforming. Because if you have the perfectionist mindset, you are going to fail because you're not going to give yourself any grace. You're not going to give yourself any grace because every time you fall short, when you have the perfectionism mindset, you are going to feel broken. You're going to beat yourself up. You're going to fall down. You're going to be like, why in the world did I just do that? And you're going to take it out on yourself. Because you had a perfectionist mindset. Because you wanted to become perfect. Yet here you are falling short. Then being like, why am I not being good at this? Do I keep failing? It's because you're not perfect. That's the whole point. The whole point of the fact that we're being told that we aren't perfect is to help us to understand that we're not going to always perform at our best. We're not always going to do good every single day, every single second. We're going to fall short. We're going to struggle. And we're not always going to do the best thing that's for the situation. We're not always going to do what's right. You're going to sin. You're going to do wrong. You're going to get a bad grade on the test. You're going to sometimes fail in your sports. You're going to make your significant other mad or upset. That is just a part of life. And the reason why I'm making this video in the first place is just to explain why it's been so heavy on me and what I'm starting to figure out about what it means to not only be a believer, but just to live, just living life in general. Because it's the mindset of it all. We have such a social media aspect to everything where it is a constant like, go, do this, do that, come on, you can do it. You'll eventually become perfect at this. You'll instantly be like, it's just, there's such a push for like being more. There is such a big push for perfectionism. There's such a big push for just so much stuff when you really need to like sit down and stop overwhelming yourself and just evaluate the whole situation and be like, this is why, and this is why I'm not doing as good as I could be because of the mindset. And then you reach the area of the internet or in society where there's the people who hold each other accountable. There are the people who say that you will get there, that you're doing great, that you're becoming something that you always were meant to be. Stuff like that. It's a good mindset to have. So you can't just keep sitting there asking yourself, why am I not doing good? Why am I not performing the best I could be doing? Think about what your mindset is right now. Because if you keep acting on saying that you're going to eventually become perfect at this, or you're going to eventually be like, you're not going to fail at this at some point, you need to get that mindset out of the way. Because there's always going to be periods that you're going to fail at, and you need to give yourself some grace, and you need to have the mindset that you are going to outperform, that you are going to perform to the best of your abilities. And when you do fall, when you do struggle, when you don't live up to the expectation, that's when you no longer start to bring yourself down, but then you pick yourself up back up saying that you are going to outperform that. You're going to look back at that and be like, I'm sorry that I didn't do good, but I will do better next time. Not because you're going to be perfect at it the next time, but because you are going to do your best to outperform. And that's just, it's a good mindset to have. That's what I've been thinking about. That's what I've been just really struggling with, is that. And it's nice to have a platform to just speak on that, because genuinely it's what the name is. It's just talking. Well, no matter what subject it is, it's just talking. And I know that some people have a different definition of what yap is, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm just discussing something. So I hope this video helped. And I hope that if you do have the mindset, you don't even have to label it as perfectionist mindset, but if you have a mindset to where every time you start to fail, you instantly bring yourself down, just remember that you can do better. You can do more. If you stop demotivating yourself for 2 seconds and start telling yourself that you can outperform, then you will outperform. So many people fill themselves with negative thoughts, with negative just everything, when they need to understand that whether you're a believer or not, in my opinion, I'm a believer. Therefore, I'm saying that you were created in the likeness of God. So when you fail, you shouldn't tell yourself that you're the worst, that you suck, that the world is over. You should tell yourself that despite this going wrong, despite me not doing as good as I thought I could, I still got this. I can still do this. That's all you need. And even if you don't believe in God, same thing. You got this. Telling yourself that you don't got this, telling yourself that you're never going to get this, is not going to bring you anywhere but backwards. You're no longer going to be able to outperform. You're going to keep underperforming because you're not encouraging yourself. I hope this video helped somebody. God bless you, and have a good day.